Well, for the top three events, they all were winter events, and seeing how the winter was so hard for a lot of people, very, very snowy as well. So I did do just a review of the winter to start before we head into those top three. Take a look at some charts comparing the winter last winter to the winter before that, which is the winter of 21 to 22, which is very, very mild across much of the area. These are below 0 days across the area, basically low temperatures. Look at this is only through January, too. You can see some places 20, 30. You compare that to last year. A lot less there. Some places like in Riverton, more than 8 times as many below 0 days through January here as compared to the winter of 21 and 22. Another chart we look at, this is December through February, which is considered meteorological winter as opposed to astronomical. And these are a comparison to high temperatures. Look at the below 0 highs here. 21 to 22, the mild winter, just 4 across all our major climate points here. Not in many places. Now we go over to last winter. 34 in some places. You had 7 in Lander, 6 in Riverton where all the snow fell, so a huge difference there. The same going across the other parameters here. Next chart we look at, this is across March when things usually start to warm up a little bit, but this wasn't the case across much of the area during March as well. You can see below normal temperatures, 23, 24, 25 degrees below normal across just about all our forecast points. And the average temperature anywhere from 8 to as much as 16 degrees below normal. Now this is the normal high averaged out for January across the area. You can see some places the average temperature is actually below what we usually get in January, so the winter lingered a very long time there. And we compare this is December through March temperature comparison, the low temperatures I should say. The big thing is look at the minus 30s here. Mild winter, 21 to 22, none. That winter, 19. 19 more there. Even look at the minus 20s. We had almost 6 times as many there. 10 to 21 to 22, 22 to 23, 57. A huge increase there, but it increases across the board pretty much for everything there. And one more chart we look at here. This is the average temperatures pretty much through December, all the way through the end of March. Now it compares to normal. Everyone's below normal, obviously, but the areas in red where they had a lot of snow and a lot of those inversions setting up, we couldn't mix out. Riverton had their coldest winter ever, at least up at the airport since '96, also Big Piney as well. Lander pretty impressive here, the 3rd coldest ever. The records could ever go back over 130 years, so that's the most impressive thing there. But everyone here was in the top 4 coldest winters of all time. We'll start our countdown after this. Well, the number 3 event occurred at the end of January of last year, and that was the Arctic outbreak we had for a couple of days. Now you need a few things to get an Arctic outbreak in really, really cold temperatures. They tend to be light winds, clear skies, good radiational cooling conditions, and also an Arctic air mass moving over the area. Call this the 4 horsemen of an Arctic outbreak. So if we take a look at the surface maps where we get a couple of these. Number 1, this is Wyoming right here. You can see pretty strong area high pressure over the area. 1040, 1045 is a really good high to get cold weather out of. That's sitting right over the state. That does 2 things. Number 1, it tends to suppress cloud cover except for low clouds and fog. And also it tends to slacken the pressure gradient so we had calm winds across the area. And those are the 2 things we need. Number 3, what do we need? Well, we need something to enhance that radiation, and fresh snow was actually one of the best things for that. And we had a little bit of the snowstorm across the area just a couple days before to help do that. Heavy snowfall amounts are here across the western valleys, but areas where the coldest temperatures fell, anywhere from about 3 to 6 inches as a general rule, a little bit more from Buffalo down toward Casper, but this is more than enough on top of the snowpack we already had from the storms earlier that year to really enhance that. And one more thing we need, that's the Arctic air mass. Now this is a 500 millibar chart. This is what we use generally to see where air masses are coming from, what we call source region. Now, sorry you can't see the lines very well, but here's Wyoming right here. I'll draw it in for you. Now just trace these lines where they come from. Starts here, comes up through Montana, Idaho, up here to Canada, through Alberta, British Columbia, the Northwest Territories, up into Alaska, then over and out of the frame here now. This actually originated in Siberia, what we meteorologists call cross-polar flow, meaning this air didn't only originate from the Arctic, it originated from Siberia. And this tends to be when we get our coldest of Arctic outbreaks across the area. We had a few of these during this year. How cold did it get? These are all the official temperatures we saw that were below minus 20. I know some areas aren't here if you live in a small town, but coldest area is Lake Yellowstone Park. It's not surprising, but most of the lower elevation spots saw the coldest temperatures, like Shoshone down near Boise Reservoir. Farson, a pretty low spot. The Whirlwind Airport is a low spot. Riverton minus 35. Vermouthless getting down to -30, -34 up at Grable. Western Valley is pretty cold too, anywhere from about 20 to 30 below zero. So it's only lasted a couple of days and temperatures moderated a little bit, but second big cold outbreak of the year, just putting more problems for that winter. We'll have number 2 after this. And the number 2 event occurred in the next month. That was in late February. We had a blizzard across much of the area, with the hardest hit areas being the eastern portions of our area, especially down to portions of Sweetwater, southern Fremont, as well as southern portions of Sublette County. And the setup for this, start off with our 700 millibar chart, about a mile off. I showed you a couple of these before. And you can see the telltale sign. We have a decent storm here. There's the mid-level low right here. Moving across the border, it's a good spot for getting storms here. See some easterly flow here, enhancing the upslope across the area as well. There's some pretty good winds down here. You can see about 40 knots, maybe 45 knots down here at the Grand Junction site. These come from the upper air balloons that we launch every day. This will come into play in just a minute. I'll show you a couple other things here, what you think the big concern is with this. Here's the jet stream level. You can see really good jet coming right over the top of the area. That's where the storm track is, and there was no exception here. A lot of moisture coming into the area. Also a lot of upper level wind here, and a lot of downward transferring of that momentum. And one more thing we'll look at here, that's the surface map. And what do you notice here? Where's the cold front that dropped through the area that brought the snow? Most of the snow falling behind it, you can see that's an indication of snow right there in Gillette. What do you notice here? You can see these lines here. This is what meteorologists call isobars. They're just lines of equal pressure. And when you have them packed in here, especially across the southern portions of the area, that's what we call a tight pressure gradient. Usually when you see this, it's an indication of very strong winds, since you have a pressure gradient between the low pressure area here and high pressure over here. And the atmosphere always trying to equalize itself. When you can see these tight lines, usually you get very, very strong winds. You're asking, how strong are these winds? These are our maximum wind gusts during this event. You can see hurricane force gusts across these areas. These are higher elevations here, but even the lower elevations, Sweetwater County got hit very, very hard with the wind. You can see Green River, 69 miles per hour. Many places across Sweetwater County see gusts of 60, 65 miles per hour. 58 miles per hour along US 2026 between Riverton and Casper. 57 miles per hour at Farson. Even Jackson Hole getting in on the action. They're usually not that windy. 52 miles per hour there. Also Park County, 52 miles per hour. 45 miles per hour at Buffalo, 48 at Grable, with that light powdery snow blowing around. This is the result here. Behind the pictures is me doing my best John Candy imitation from the Vacation movie. I know I'm old. A lot of you young people probably haven't seen this, but this is what the roads looked like when I came into work that morning. It was not pleasant getting into work that morning. You can see, it's about the whole southern half and the eastern part of our areas. The red means the roads are closed. You pretty much couldn't go south and east of Riverton on this day. Even the areas that weren't closed, very, very difficult travel conditions. I want to emphasize this across the area. When we issued these warnings, I'm not going to show snowfall amounts here since it blew around so much, but even just a little bit of snow and wind can affect your travel more than just inches of snow. So when we put warnings out, focus more on the impacts and not just the snowfall amounts that you're going to get. And one more thing that happened with this, we had clear skies after that. Remember last video I talked about good radiational cooling? Here we saw record lows across portions of the area as well. Not quite as cold as back in January. The days are getting longer at this point. The sun angle's a little bit higher. So it tends to warm up just a little bit, but still. These temperatures, really, really cold. These are all record lows, -20, -30 across the area. Rock Springs, wind was still up here, probably keeping it a little bit warm. I'm sure it didn't feel like -14. It felt a lot colder than that. Matter of fact, it got cold enough for us to do the hot water to ice trick. We throw the hot water up in the air. I'll show a short video of that before we go to the number 1 event. Now we're on to the number 1 event of the year, and no real surprise here, especially for those of you living in the Casper areas, that huge snowstorm you had, record-setting snowstorm that you had in the first part of April. And we'll start by doing the same thing we did with the last one. Let's take a look at the setup for this system. Now I'm going to show you the surface map right now. I want to show you a feature on a couple of the upper air charts. First, 700 millibars. We talked about the upper level low. You can see it right here. It's 700 millibars. Now we'll go up a little bit more. 500 millibars, about 2 miles above that. See how it's right here. Now let me go back and forth between these. Now notice how they're pretty close to each other. It's what meteorologists call a vertically stacked low. Basically, it's stacked up on top of each other instead of being drifted up to the west or the east. And what this does is it really slows down the progression of the system. So it sits over an area for a while, and it also, as a result, produces a lot of snow. And the one last thing we'll go up to here, that's the jet stream level. Jet's going pretty close to Wyoming. Now this is 12 hours earlier than the other one. Now notice where the jet streak is. It's right here in the lighter blue. See how it's coming up here? We talked about the left front quad before in some of the other videos. Well, it's going right into there. And I want you to keep this in mind where that left front quad is. I'll show you some radar and some satellite imagery in just a moment. Start by taking a look at some satellite imagery. This is the water vapor. See that deep plume of moisture basically coming all the way in from the southern Pacific, wrapping all the way up into Wyoming. You can really see it up in here. I'll draw Wyoming in for you right there. You can also see the jet stream as well. That's right here. You can see it in the black area coming all the way up into Wyoming. That front left quad of the jet. You really see the clouds actually expanding here and really developing as we head through the day on the 3rd and the 4th. Look at radar next. Now we look at the radar data across the area. Again, Casper's right here. My great artwork there. Haha, very funny, huh? Look at this band of snow right here. It basically just develops. Another just a couple of small oscillations. Pretty much just sits here. This loop goes from about noon on the 3rd until after midnight on the 4th. You can see it breaking up toward the end of the shot. But pretty much, remember, the left front quad of the jet was sitting right about here, and that's just about where this band's set up. Anywhere from, say, Casper down here to Rock Springs as well. The radar doesn't pick up stuff very well down here because of the Wind River Mountains blocking the beam, but it was snowing very, very hard. Pretty much in this zone here up through Lander and all the way up through Casper for several hours. How much snow? Well, I'll show you next. Well, it turns out they did break some records there. You can see the all-time snowiest day on record, 26.7 inches of snow. The all-time record, that breaks the old record, which is 24.3. That was set way back in 1982 for the Christmas Eve blizzard, kind of the benchmark storm across Casper, at least in living memory. And the all-time record was 31.3 inches of snow, occurred the 23rd to the 24th. And it did end up breaking the record. I'll show you the graphic on that in just a minute. But around the rest of the area, some pretty heavy snow fell, but it actually fell in a pretty narrow area. Once you get outside of that area, amounts dropped off quite a bit. Casper obviously got hit up to 60 inches on top of Casper Mountain. Airport ended up picking up over 3 feet of snow, around 3 feet in portions of the city as well. You got further to the west, Powder River, about 20-30 miles to the west, went down to 14 inches. Midwest, about 40 miles to the north, it went down to 6 inches. Now, the band southeastern Fremont County as well, Atlantic City in the mountains, 4 feet of snow there. Lander anywhere from 15 to 18, higher elevations of 6 Kenya, 26. Fort Washington is in the path to 16.3. Get up toward Riverton though, drops off to about 8 to 10 inches. Get up toward DuBois down to 6. Also went through Sweetwater County. Rock Springs and Green River, you were in the firing line, the direct line of that band. Anywhere from, let's say, 14 to 18, 19 inches there. Head up to Farson, drops off a lot. They went down to 7. Lincoln County, same thing. More southern Lincoln County. 22.8 inches of Fossil Butte. 20 inches at Apton, but you get out toward Alpine, just a little bit further to the north. They went down to just 3.5 inches. Now, that's the thing with the storm. Now, the models with the storm actually had it pinned pretty well. They had a band of snow forming, a very narrow band, but the problem was they kept shifting back and forth. And the question was, where was that band going to set up? It looked like it finally set up basically from Rock Springs to Casper, about 30-40 miles to either side of that. And that record-breaking thing? Yeah, all-time biggest snowstorm in Casper, 37.4 inches for the total thing, and a daily snowfall record as well, breaking both the records set back in the Christmas Eve blizzard of 1982. Thank you for joining us for the top weather events of 2023. Enjoy the rest of the winter and the rest of the year. I'll have another one of these next year. And of course, any inclement weather comes our way, we'll have some briefings for you.